This is Why Am I a Mets Fan? A podcast hosted by Samantha Croston and Ashley Wenskoski.
What's up, everyone? Welcome into the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. That's Ashley Wenskoski. I'm Samantha Croston, and we are two Syracuse-based sports reporters. We have a couple of big and breaking Mets updates to get into, but before we do that, tell people where they can find you on Twitter and Instagram.
You can follow me at Ashley Wenskoski TV. The podcast is Why Mets Pod on Twitter, Instagram, the whole like.
And you can find me at Sam Croston1 on Twitter, at Sam_Croston on Instagram. And like Ashley said, we also have an at Why Mets Pod Instagram account. Really helpful for you guys to just be able to follow us on all of those social media platforms so we can continuously bring you updates on what it is that we plan to discuss. Today, we're talking about two Mets updates. Let's start with Francisco Lindor because that's what came out first. SNY Mets posting today that Francisco Lindor will be evaluated tomorrow as he deals with a stress reaction in his left hammate bone. Should have looked that up. Surgery could be possible for Lindor. It would mean a 6-week recovery timeline. David Stearns saying on that the Mets are optimistic that he'll be ready for opening day. It's not the news you want to hear, but it wouldn't be the start to a Mets season without that kind of bullshit.
I feel exactly the way that Diana from Mets Twitter does. If you guys are really in the weeds of Mets Twitter, you know Diana. She's so funny. She's always saying funny things. She said, I was getting worried. I haven't heard any horrible Mets news in a while. Same. We were bound for the next shoe to drop. You know what I mean? Francisco Lindor. I mean, listen, everybody was having a crash out today. Of course they were. Never is the news that you want to hear regarding your star player in Francisco Lindor. I understand Mets gonna Met the whole 9 yards. But David Stearns is cautiously optimistic. So really, what do we have to worry about? You know?
He's cautiously optimistic, you guys. That means we all should be cautiously optimistic.
Oh, brother.
No, but honestly, I don't even think... I mean, bottom line, if the guy needs a surgery, get it. If he misses a week or two, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just get it. Just get it. Like, obviously, that's not the way you want to start the season. But baseball is such a long goddamn season. Like, I'm not too worried about it. I'm really not. Just make a decision now.
Right. There are also some important clarifications here because I know a few questions came to my mind immediately. Okay, when did he, sustain this injury? How long has he been hurt for? Did it have to do with the World Baseball Classic? The whole 9 yards. Lindor very publicly was going to play in the WBC, which is coming up next month, and was not allowed to for insurance reasons because baseball players have insurance on their bodies. If they sort of suspect any sort of injury or whatnot, they're not allowed to play. Lindor and his wife voiced their displeasure that he is not allowed to represent his country on the world stage. He's very upset. Now we're sort of seeing why the insurance is not letting him play. Stearns said the Mets had no say on Lindor not being cleared to play in the World Baseball Classic, and he also said the hand was hurt only recently. He also said Lindor has had soreness in his hand/wrist off and on over the last few years. So to answer your question, why didn't he get surgery in December? Well, because he has appeared to have heard it only very recently, but maybe it's something he's been dealing with here for a few months to a few years. I don't know, kind of conflicting narratives there out of David Stearns.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those, maybe there's a little bit of gray area being tossed around there purposefully. Perhaps it's an injury that he had, but it wasn't bad enough that it needed surgery. Perhaps something in the last few weeks aggravated it, and that's what changed things. Listen, I want to say that I totally understand why anyone would be upset if they wanted to play in the World Baseball Classic and can't. It's sort of a tough situation, right? It's like Mets fans of all people know the horror of losing a great player because of an event like that. At the same time, you really want to be able to represent, your country and represent something greater than yourself, and I totally understand that. But I do think at the end of the day, when it comes to events like this, your loyalty has to be to the Mets. And if something really is wrong here, I think it's really important to get that fixed as quickly as possible, and it doesn't mean there aren't going to be other opportunities to play in that game.
I agree, and I think I probably speak for all Mets fans when I say that if Francisco Lindor needs surgery on his hand, wrist, he should get that surgery tomorrow. Let's not delay. If surgery is the case, and I know he's being evaluated by a specialist and they haven't made that decision yet, but if he needs surgery, let's get the damn surgery out of the way and let's get this show on the road because it's already mid-February. I believe it's tomorrow, Wednesday, February 11th, that all players officially report to Port St. Lucie. Like, spring training is here. Let's get Lindor healthy. I did see some people, of course, already making the note that if Lindor doesn't have much of a spring training because of this surgery, you know as well as I do that Mr. Francisco loves to not get it going until, June. Like, not even, like, Francisco Lindor is ready to play baseball season on about the 1st of June, typically. And so if this injury now sidelines him for spring training, that, of course, amplifies the concern of how much he will produce in the early parts of the year, even if he is back on the field.
We could be looking at a July start date for when he decides to turn it on. No.
Open to work July 1st.
No, I'm totally kidding. But I know what you mean. That's kind of his history there. I'd also like to just call this out. If there are any doctors in the chat, can you give us a little bit of insight as to what exactly is going on here? Like, I just look at something like that and I think surgery, 6 weeks, that feels like a quick recovery time, but maybe it's not. Maybe that is exactly what it's supposed to be. I don't know. I would like to hear from somebody in the medical field to find out a little bit more about this kind of injury and how long it, generally speaking, takes for it to heal. Are there any lingering effects? Could it contribute to his batting? Could it contribute to his fielding? I would like to know some of those answers if anyone has them.
Well, I think the hand and the wrist. Okay, I'm not a doctor. Let's just specify.
I said in the chat, not you.
Things. I'm not a doctor, but. I would think the hand and the wrist, you do have to be kind of concerned about, because think about hitting wise. I mean, your power comes from your hands, your wrist, the flick of the wrist. Also fielding, shortstop, I mean, with the glove, you know what I mean? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it seems pressing and like we should probably get it addressed. Also, I was making a joke earlier. I'm happy that David Stearns is optimistic, but I really haven't been trained to be very optimistic when David Stearns throws around the term optimistic. It's giving when he said that they were going, what did he say about Pete Alonso? I don't know. I bring it up all the time.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember the exact wording, but I know what you mean.
And then Pete Alonso signed with the Orioles the next day.
Yeah, the entire sentiment there was like, calm down, don't worry, it's not a big deal.
We're in a good place.
Ended up being a really, really big deal. Oh, yeah, it was something like that.
It wasn't we're in a good place, but it was.
I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah, that was. So I understand where there's trauma there, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But like, what else is, I mean, I think at least David Stearns knows Mets fans well enough to know that, like, you know what, say that now, and then in 6 weeks when that's not true, like, then he can address it. But he just bought himself 6 weeks of time. And if that is true, great. But like you said, it's the Mets mentality to feel like that's probably not going to be all that it is, you know?
I am prepared to be hurt and disappointed again, and that goes for Francisco Lindor's injury and also the entirety of the Mets 2026 season. Sign me up, man. It's time for heartbreak.
It is time for another round of heartbreak. I'm in, I'm ready, I'm willing. Let's talk about the other big piece of news that came out today. Juan Soto, it was announced, will play left field for the Mets this season. He has played left field before with the Nationals. It's not necessarily a new spot for him. Some of the reports essentially said that this was something that they were kind of, in talks about as things were actually playing out. I believe that Juan Soto had actually expressed that he felt a little bit more comfortable playing there and was having a good time playing there. What do you think about that?
Well, David Stearns' exact quote today was, quote, Juan was working out in left field. He felt really comfortable there. It made sense for us from a roster perspective, not something we had contemplated, but as we've had conversations, it made sense. That quote actually is interesting to me because I love to read between the lines of David Stearns' corporate lingo speak that he speaks. He says a lot without saying really anything at all. There are a few of those around. I'm not one of them personally. Anyway. I kind of read between the lines of that statement, and I almost wonder if Juan Soto asked to move to left field.
100%.
Not something we had contemplated, but as we've had conversations, it made sense. Now, do I think left field is easier to play at Citi Field? Yes, I do. I think right field in that corner, there's all sorts of nooks, crannies, things bounce off the wall, weird there. Right field and Citi Field, sort of a weird place. Mm-hmm. So do I think the move to left could benefit him? Yeah. Also, he plans on playing in the aforementioned World Baseball Classic, where he is playing for the Dominican Republic, his home country. He's going to play left field there. So that'll be a good little appetizer if we're going to watch that on a national stage to kind of see how he fares. But like you mentioned it, he's played it before. He's played it with the Nationals. This isn't like a groundbreaking shift. Honestly, when anybody moves from corner outfield to corner outfield, it's like, I think we're all going to be okay,
Let's be honest. He has to play there. The Mets want to give him the things that he wants, and he saw an opportunity. They didn't have somebody in left field. That was the position that was, confusing anyway.
Yeah.
God bless Brett Beatty, who is now trying out for right field.
Wait, imagine Brett thought it was left field this whole time.
Nah.
He shows up to Florida and they're like, Brett, I'm really sorry, it's right.
The amount of reps, man, it's just not fair. Justice for Brett Beatty.
Brett Beatty is giving, I don't know if you're going to know this reference because it's really old, but it's from, I don't know, it's from some cartoon my parents would always talk about when I was a little kid. And it's like Bugs Bunny left field, Bugs Bunny first base, Bugs Bunny, like Bugs Bunny's playing all of the positions. That's Brett Beatty. Brett Beatty is Bugs Bunny.
100%. He is going through the ringer a little bit. I am hoping that in some way, shape, or form, this hardship that he's going through is going to help him as not only a player and also a person. But my God, has he been doing a lot of soul searching throughout this process. I guess the one interesting thing is that I kind of thought the idea was we're just filling that position until Carson Bench is ready. So what happens once Carson Bench is ready?
Well, right. I mean, I think now you, in essence, take everything we were talking about for left field and probably just move it over to right. I mean, Robert Jr. is probably going to play primarily center field. You have Tyrone Taylor in there as just a sort of outfield everyman option. But I think right field now becomes sort of Carson Bench and Brett Beatty, or some division there. I don't know. We'll see if Carson Bench makes the team. I would think that whatever they were considering for left is now just going to shift over to right. But honestly, in my eyes, it only amplifies. Maybe this team could still use an outfielder. I don't think that's the craziest thing to say.
No, I get it, because at the end of the day, he moved, but like this team still has a hole. Everything that was true on the past few episodes are still true now. It's just moved to right field, which, as you said, in some ways is almost a little bit of a wonkier position to play. So it's like you do kind of need the right person for that. And you would sort of think that the best case scenario would be that it would be someone with a little bit of experience.
I know. Honestly, a Carson Bench, Brett Beatty plus...
I'm not sold on that.
Not tantalized.
I'm not even sure that the Mets are sold on that. Like, I guess you would have to see what happens in spring training, but even then, it's not a lot of time to decide if somebody is good enough and ready to really play that position, you know? And I have to say, the pressure is just on for Brett Beatty as far as how he's able to hit, what he's able to bring beyond what he's able to do in potentially right field.
Totally. We've established that the time is sort of really ticking and honestly almost up for Brett Beatty and Mark Vientos, I think, in terms of their roles on this team. But no, Soto, I don't think anybody should like overblow the Soto move because I think, he's played 400 career innings there. Like Soto has a lot of experience, years and years playing in left field. I think if that's where he wants to play, honestly, you're paying the guy $700 million, whatever it is, $765 million. Let him play the position he wants to play.
Yeah, I just don't see the harm in it, especially because, like you said, it would have made me feel a little bit uncomfortable if he didn't have any experience there before, because then I just feel like there are so many.
Oh my God.
There's so many players on this Mets team that are playing out of place, that don't have experience. It's their first time. They've played one inning, like whatever.
One pitch.
You know what I mean?
It's the
Whatever.
island of misfit toys.
It is, and it's like, listen, it could all work, and it could be this really beautiful, like you said, I could totally envision that. The island of misfit toys figures out a way to be successful. Like the broadcast is going crazy, but it's like, a lot has to go right. Maybe that's the thing that I'm a little hung up on. It feels like a lot has to go right, and it feels like at the same time there are simultaneously 3 to 5 or 6 different experiments going on.
More questions than answers, some might say. But you know what?
We throw that phrase around a lot in this newsroom.
I think that we do. We typically have more questions than answers on a daily basis. But I think that we say this all under a, scrutinizing microscope about the Mets. And obviously that's what we're doing here. We're taking out our microscope every time we come and talk on this podcast. But like, every team in February is going to have some of these questions. Now, do the Mets have more than most this year? I think with the defensive arrangement that they have going on, yes, that's true. But I think spring training is your time, and the World Baseball Classic this year, to kind of work out some of these kinks, see where guys fit, see where they're comfortable, see who even makes the team, right? I mean, there's all this talk about Carson Bench. What if Carson Bench goes out there and has a really shitty spring training? What do we do then? Then Carson Bench has a one-way ticket to good old Syracuse here, and he's not in the equation for one of these outfield spots. Then you really kind of need an outfielder. I hate to say it.
Right? It's a lot of pressure on Brett Beatty to be successful if that happens.
I know.
But you know what? I do see why it's a hard situation for the Mets on both sides of that, because let's just say, like, I think what you're probably trying to figure out in these next 6 weeks is if Carson Bench isn't ready now, how far away is he from being ready? Because you don't want to go out there and pay a bunch of money for a guy when, if it's possible that in 6 months to maybe a year you won't need him. Yeah. I don't know. That's probably the tough part.
I agree.
I kind of do still feel at this point like there are a couple of pieces who need to continue to be in the discussion when it comes time to talk about trading. Like, I am ready to use a couple of these Mets players as trading pieces if that's what it comes to.
We need some chess pieces. We need to pawn them off.
100%.
Before we wrap up here, I have one more thing for you. I don't think you know what I'm going to say. It's a piece of Mets. It's Mets.
Does it involve Hayden Senger?
No.
Saw something about him today too, but go ahead. Tell me what you got and I'll tell you what I have.
Okay. Well, Michael K made a ruckus today because he loves to
Jesus
do that.
Christ.
You know,
All right.
I just realized we're really in Valentine's Day colors here. The red and the purple. I mean, we're very festive this week.
Ashley, huge Valentine's Day proponent. Loves it.
That's a joke. I will not be celebrating this year or any other year for the rest of my life. Thanks for coming to the show. Anyways, Valentine's Day is canceled, but I do love all of you, so we're celebrating that relationship.
That was so nice of you. Wait, put that on the thumbnail.
Okay, hearts for everyone. Anyways, moving forward. Valentine's Day is canceled.
Enough of that.
I'm actually leaving the country, so it's that dramatic.
Canceled. It is that off.
All the way off. In a different
country, gone, not celebrating.
But you're celebrating, and that's, we have one piece of the puzzle. Anyway,
one out of two.
Moving forward. Really happy with where the comments are going to take all that. Anyway.
Exciting direction.
Tantalized to find out. Luke Weaver, one of the New York Mets recently acquired relievers, as you know.
I sure do.
Came over from the Yankees. He showed up to Port St. Lucie, Florida this week, and he was carrying his old Yankees duffel bag. Luke Weaver is walking into the Mets facility, and he's got a big old bag that's Yankees all over it. Michael K took issue with that this morning on his radio show. He said, "Show a little respect." Quote. Then he said, "I mean, the Mets deserve better than that. They paid you a lot of money. All you had to do was call up the Mets at some point during the offseason and say, listen, can you send me an equipment bag so that when I come to Port St. Lucie, I'm carrying a Met equipment bag with blue and orange rather than the Yankees midnight blue and white." But he didn't do that. It's like players don't think the right thing to do. It's not right. You owe it to the Met organization. You're a Met now. You shouldn't be carrying a Yankee bag. Michael K had to pick something. Distraction of the day. That was Michael K's distraction of the day on his radio show. But what do you think? I want to hear what you think before I say.
I mean,
the guy didn't have any other bags. Was he supposed to go to Target and buy a duffel bag? Like,
I come back around to something I've thought about a lot this week.
Yeah.
Which is, why are men so upset on Twitter? Listen, I don't understand why Michael K in particular is so angry by this, but I felt that way a lot about Michael K.
He's angry all the time.
Like from the rare things I've seen about him, and it's tough, right? It's like we're broadcasters who are podcasting. I'm not really mad that he has opinions and is also the play-by-play guy, but like all of his opinions just strike me as desperate.
They all suck.
Like, I just feel like he is hoping for or seeking for some kind of validation that I'm not so sure he's really going to get. I am rooting for him to get it, though. I really am. As far as the bag is concerned, I mean, to your point, I guess he could have called up the Mets organization, but in my mind, I'm thinking about it logistically. I'm feeling like they have a bag waiting for him in the locker room.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, the bag is in there. It's wrapped in plastic. He probably was just thinking about getting... I don't think that he did that to make a statement. No. Now, I will say, Luke Weaver is somebody who I felt like on the Yankees was like a really silly, really goofy guy who was like a fan favorite. Everybody loved him, did really well and performed really well on like the TikToks, the social media side of things. I didn't think that he actually looked so thrilled to be there today based on the things that I've previously seen about him. Like the actual video of him walking in, he didn't like look as happy and joyous as he had looked in the past. But I'm not reading too far into that. Guy is new on this team. He's probably trying to make some new friends. He's probably trying to figure a couple things out, right? Like, I'm willing to give Luke Weaver the benefit of the doubt, and I think that we're all going to end up really liking him here. He's going to really fit in here. Again, he struck me as fun, silly, and somebody who was good for the culture. I'm not particularly offended by the fact that he rolled up with his old bag if that's all he had. Like, to go out there and just grab some generic bag, the hilarious part is, and I really could be wrong about this, but then I feel like Yankees fans might have something to say. Oh, he went out just to get a specific bag so he didn't have to represent the Yankees? Wow, he must have really hated it there. Like, you can't...
Yeah, Michael
you know
Kay would have said that if it was the other way around.
I'm just saying, it's like, you can't make everybody happy. Bro just didn't feel like going out there and spending money on a new bag when he was about to get a new bag.
He knew there was one waiting for him, and he didn't really feel like going to Target or Dick's Sporting Goods or wherever to get a new bag. No, I have no issue. I mean, is it like fun? Maybe he did it as a funny bit. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like everybody knows in New York, yes, the Mets and Yankees is a serious rivalry, okay? And players that come over know that. But at the same time, it's like you got Juan Soto now, you got Devin Williams. It's like maybe he showed up with the Yankees bag because A, it was all he had, and B, he actually thought it might gain a few laughs. You know?
I'm admitting that I don't know enough about this. What is actually the standard protocol there? Like, you know, Michael Kay is saying it would be so easy and simple for the Mets to send him a new bag. Is that the standard? Like, do the Mets normally send out the bags to the players right away? It's a different story if he already had the bag and chose to bring the Yankees one. I just don't think that's what happened here. I think that's really reading into things a little bit.
Well, you wonder about that with players and like there's something in my eye. Players and like PR, not PR. It's not PR for the players. They work for the teams, but sort of like the packages that they receive. Like, for instance, the minute Pete Alonso becomes an Oriole, okay, does he have a shipment on the way from Baltimore with sweatshirts and jackets and t-shirts? Like, think about how much these guys must accumulate over years of playing for a team. You know what I mean? I actually don't know the answer to that question. If teams send them stuff in the offseason or if they get it at spring training. To be honest with you, it feels like it's pretty likely that they get it at spring training.
It would just make sense. I'm not saying Luke Weaver. Wouldn't you think that in everybody's locker, there's new gear there's new shirts, there's new, you know... Let's not make it into something that it's not. That's my thought on it.
Michael Kay, let's just find something new to rant about. And honestly, he doesn't even do it in a funny way because I don't know if you know Mad Dog. I've actually never talked about my love and affinity for Mad Dog on this show. Love Mad Dog. Grew up on Mad Dog. Honestly, that probably explains a lot about me. Mad Dog does it in a way that's like funny. Like, you listen to Mad Dog and Mad Dog's angry and he's always shouting about something, but he's like calling, he called Bad Bunny Bugs Bunny. Like, he gets everybody's name wrong. Mad Dog's funny.
Because he's like old.
No, he's old. He's like pretty old. Conclusion, Mad Dog's funny, Michael Kay is not. You know what I mean?
There's
tired, wired.
There's a totally like tasteful way to do stuff like that that I think can actually garner a lot of attention. Like, doesn't Mad Dog actually have a segment that's like, what are you mad about today?
Yes.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
and
he
like
screams for like 8 minutes about something.
Because I was gonna say, he's on the show with Stephen A. Smith a lot of the time, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
and I think
dude.
he still has his own MLB Network show. He's still on the radio. Mad Dog does a few things.
Mad Dog is in a couple of places, and clearly people like Mad Dog because he's here, he's there, he's a little bit of everywhere from what I can tell.
Yep.
Anyway, the thing I was going to say about Hayden Senger is I saw today a tweet that said Mets catcher Hayden Senger, just thought you'd be interested in this because we talked about it a lot, gave up his offseason job at Whole Foods over the offseason and played winter ball instead. Said he loved the atmosphere and the experience of playing in high-pressure games in the offseason. Isn't that just wonderful?
I'm happy for his financial situation that he could escape working at Whole Foods. That tells me that Hayden Senger is probably in a better place than he was.
I will forever root for him knowing that that is his backstory.
I know, me too.
Like, because the further up that he makes it, the cooler that story is going to be. You know what it has notes of, to be honest? Kevin Burkhardt.
Totally.
Hayden Senger is my new Kevin Burkhardt.
Yep.
I am sure many of you know that, but Kevin Burkhardt was a Mets sideline reporter. He has the job that Steve Gelbs has, or that's a job he previously had. But before that, he was actually a car salesman. Used car salesman. Thank you so much.
Makes it worse.
Like somewhere in his mid-30s, because he was trying to make ends meet. I think he was on the radio a little bit at this time. There's a great Wall Street Journal article about it. This is clearly the last
terrific.
5%.
Yep.
But I'm telling you, like, this is an article worth reading if you happen to have the subscription to the Wall Street Journal. I don't, but I saw the headline. I thought it was a great headline. Maybe somebody could give me their login and password, because I always wanted to read the article.
I think I read the article, but I don't have a Wall Street Journal login, so
really?
I don't know how I got in there.
There was a paywall on it. But it said something like he was a used car salesman, and this is the kicker. Now he's calling the Super Bowl. Yeah. That's what's so cool about it. Like his SMY stop was in the middle. He literally has called the Super Bowl on Fox. And it was in the span of like 10, 15
Yeah.
years. It was crazy. It was one of the most insane rises to fame that I've ever seen. I was so pumped for him.
If you need to feel better about where you're at in your life in comparison to some other peers, as we do quite frequently, Kevin Burkhardt was literally selling used cars down at the Jersey Shore in like Toms River, New Jersey, until, don't quote me on the age, but legitimately like 32, 33 years old.
Yep.
And then he finally like turned the stuff he was doing on the side into the SNY gig and, you know, just took off from there. So it's never too late.
It is never too late. And I think that's the note we're going to end on.
Yep.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for the Why Am I a Mets Fan podcast. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you when the next big thing happens.